Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time, and I'm here for another Monday this and that video where I like to talk about all kinds of different topics, kind of giving people updates. Today I'm going to be talking a lot about the garden and a few other things, as you can tell by right here and by my title. So let's get to the topics of today, starting off with the long-term storage of dry yeast. So while yes, I do use a fermentation starter and often have used that to make bread with, and have also done sourdough, I do tend to prefer my yeast breads using dry yeast. So I actually have quite a bit in storage. Now, when you buy your dry yeast like this, and it's packed like this, as long as it stays vacuum sealed and you keep it in a somewhat cool area for storage, it'll last for many years. In fact, I don't know how old some of this yeast is. I've had it put up for quite a while. And when I need to break into a new package, what I then do is divide it up into half-pint jars and then vacuum seal it, and then that will also last, because basically it's vacuum sealed in this, but then when you go to open it, you've got this big 2-pound bag here. Vacuum sealing it is going to really stretch the life out, and without having to store it in the fridge or the freezer. So vacuum sealing it means it can last for years in a jar as long as you keep your seal. As you can see, I'm using some recycled Superb lids that they are now probably my favorite lids, even over the Tattlers, just because of their broader use, since you can't use the Tattlers for vacuum sealing, but you can use the Superb and they work excellent for all purposes. So anyway, the reason this jar here looks different, I have a different lid on it, is because this is the one that I'll be working through. So when it comes to the one I'm working through, just to make sure that my yeast does stay fresh, and because it can go old once it's been opened up and then become useless, I like to keep this one in the freezer. So in that case, I just put a regular lid on it. And I also have one of those silicone covers on the inside of it too, and that just makes it easier to open and close rather than having to deal with a 2-part lid. And so this will just stay in my freezer. I'll work through this and then one by one go through the vacuum sealed jars. Once I open them up, they will also go into the freezer at that time. And so what you'll find is that this 2-pound bag, like you can get at Costco, it will fill up 6 half-pint jars, or if you prefer, you can do pint-sized jars. I don't recommend using quarts in this case. I use the half pints because they're smaller, and I'm keeping everything else vacuum sealed. But yes, I just had finished off my last little jar of vacuum sealed yeast that I had put up several years ago, and then opened a fresh bag. This is just one of the many I have back there, and then filled these up and have already used some of it, and it's still very active and works great. So if you're looking for a way to put up a lot of dry yeast, especially when you find a good deal on it, this is one way that you can do that. But again, I will come back to the fact that it's still a good idea to learn how to either A, work with the liquid fermentation starter that I use for fermenting just about anything, and also learning how to make sourdough. They're very similar in the way they work. They're both basically a sourdough. You're using a natural yeast. Let's move on to the golden oregano. So here is my golden oregano that I've put up so far from this year. And golden oregano is one of my favorite culinary herbs to grow and to use because it goes so well with almost everything. Unlike your Mediterranean oregano that has a much spicier, stronger flavor to it, your golden oregano is far more mild, and to me it has more uses. Now, I love all kinds of oregano, and I do use my Mediterranean oregano quite a bit. It goes in all of my Italian sauces for pizza, spaghetti, ravioli, lasagna, and some of my more Mexican dishes. But I like the golden oregano to add to every kind of meal that I'm going to use. And when you use it fresh, it is excellent in salads, and it also makes a really great tea. You're not going to have that real strong spicy flavor like you do with the Mediterranean. It's got a somewhat, I want to say sweeter, but not sweet. It just has a little bit different flavor. You can tell it's oregano, but it's just not quite the same. And so if you're not growing it yet, no, I don't sell the seeds. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen my golden oregano go to seed. And I've only bought it as starts and then just kept my plants alive or propagated by doing like you would with any mint and making more plants. And I have more than enough now. So I do really good with the golden oregano. The other great thing about golden oregano is because it's such a beautiful color, it's just a different color to add to your garden. I love growing it. When it doesn't get a ton of sun exposure or when it's first starting to grow, it comes in a lime green, but then it turns more golden the more the sun hits it. And so thus the name. But anyway, some people were asking, I posted a picture on it in the community section on YouTube, and some people were asking, well, can I use this for making an essential oil? Well, you could, but it's not going to be the same as your Mediterranean oregano oil. That's going to be far more powerful. As far as the health benefits, I would assume they would be very, very similar to your standard oregano, but my other assumption is that because it is just far more mild, it may not be as potent, or it just may have some other types of benefits that your Mediterranean oregano doesn't have. It's really difficult to find information health-wise because a lot of people grow golden oregano more as an ornamental plant, but it is edible and it's delicious. Absolutely love it. In fact, I think I might have to try it. I think golden oregano would make an excellent vinegar. So as far as getting some plants, I would just recommend going down to your local nursery and ask if they either have them or see if they'll order some up for you. That's what I did to get my hands on some plants when it all started, by me ending up with a golden oregano completely by accident because I had bought a stevia. It looked like a dying stevia plant. It was labeled stevia, but it wasn't stevia. And it took me a while to have to track down and figure out exactly what it was. Come to find out, it was golden oregano. And then the other thing going on, as you can see right here, is that I have a ton of Mojito Mint. It is my most prolific mint that I grow. And I grow it as a border around my garden. So if you saw my most recent Substack post, that I'll link to down below in the description box if you're curious, because I put a lot of photos and some descriptions in there about what was going on. One of the things I mentioned was the Mojito Mint. And I use it as a border around the garden. It does help to keep pests out. But again, it grows pretty prolifically. It's actually going out into my grassy areas, which I don't care because when you mow, it makes it smell really nice. And because I get so much of it, but it's not my favorite to use as a hot tea through the winter. I love it as a cold infusion in the summertime, especially on the hot days. It's absolutely delicious. But don't care for it later in the winter as a hot tea. I like peppermint better. But what I found years ago, simply by just experimenting and not at all expecting this, was I had some organic banana peels like I have right here and decided I was going to go ahead and try making vinegar out of them. But since I had so much Mojito Mint coming in, I decided to shove that in there too, just to see what would happen. And to my amazement, when it was done, it tasted just like store-bought lemon juice, like the real lemon juice. I could not believe it. And so I'm like, wow, what a perfect lemon juice replacement for making salsas and other such. And it's virtually free because I'm using the peels from the banana that would normally just get tossed in the garden anyway. And some of my excess Mojito Mint that just is going crazy. And so I like to make sure I make at least 1/2 gallon of this every year. Another thing and I've mentioned this several times, but another thing I like to do with my Mojito Mint, I'll do this every day. at this time of the year when it's just going berserk, is as I'm walking by the garden to head out to the chicken coop, I'll pick a couple of big handfuls of the Mojito Mint and just go into the coop and just throw it in there. And it just adding it to the bedding, it will help keep pests away. It also helps to just freshen up the whole area. I will also toss it into the nesting boxes and into the little coop for the chicks that we keep in there. And I'll do this with other herbs such as lemon balm, another one that's now growing very, very prolifically around here. So I end up with quite a bit of it. So that's another one that I like to toss in there. You can also do this with your oregano, your lavender, well, any of your mints for that matter, thyme, rosemary, anything you can toss in there that will help prevent pests as well as freshen up the whole area, add a nice scent in there. Now, another mint that's been starting to really take off now, it's not near as prolific as the Mojito Mint, but that's my orange mint. I haven't started drying it yet this year, so this is from probably 2 years ago since I didn't put anything up last year. But I'll put some pictures. In fact, I'll put the little short that published last week. And so one of my favorite teas, and this will be either for a cold infusion for the hot time of the year, or even as a hot tea, preferably using the herbs fresh. I find I like it best making the teas out of this. And that is the blend of the orange mint, about a 50-50 blend, and the lemon balm straight from the garden. So this is the perfect time of year for me to make that tea. And so that's what we tend to drink quite a bit this time of year, as those things are just going crazy. Now, I do sell the lemon balm seed. Orange mint is another one I have yet to see go to seed. But the lemon balm, I will definitely be collecting seed off of that. So I don't keep it entirely cut down, but I have so much of it, I can do that and still end up with a ton of lemon balm seed to put in my product list, which if you're interested in seeing what products that we make and sell, including, well, I don't make the seeds, but I do collect the seeds from my own garden herbs. So I have a list of the seeds that we sell, plus several other things that we make ourselves. If you're interested in that, just email me at raincountryhomestead@gmail.com. I no longer have an Etsy store. I shut it down a couple of years ago, and I did do a video, if you're interested on why I did that I'll link to in the description box down below. So yeah, anyway, so you email me, I just send you out the product list. Another gardening thing that I'm really excited about is that my honeysuckles are blooming. So I have the pink and yellow. I don't think it had a name on it when I bought it. So it's either a Mardi Gras or what was the other one? Cold Flame. They both look very similar. So I love those. They're beautiful, but I use them for a lot of different things. I use them for making teas. I use them for making cold infusions. And I dehydrate them and they go into my infused oil along with many other great skin benefiting herbs that I use in my homemade skin cream and several other things. If you're interested in learning more about the honeysuckle, I'll link to that video I did, I think a couple years ago in the description box down below. I just absolutely adore honeysuckle, and it was wonderful yesterday when I walked out there heading out to the chicken coop. I got one of my biggest honeysuckle plants is out there right at the corner of the garden, and I could just smell the aroma of that honeysuckle as the individual little blossoms are starting to open up, and absolutely love it. So yes, it's edible. Yes, you can use it for many things. So check out that video to learn more. Yes, there are different varieties, the most common being the yellow white one. I think it's yellow and white, or is it all yellow? I don't remember, but that's the Japanese honeysuckle, and that's the one a lot of people just have, going crazy in their gardens, and they have to cut it back or whatever, because this one does it too though. But yeah, the yellow one is the most common. Now, a couple reminders of some subscriber collaborations coming up. So we have the garden related collaboration. These are the photo collaborations, and then the food preservation collaboration. So if you're new to my channel and new to what all this is about, what it is I like to put these slideshows together of photos that my subscribers sent to me of some various topic related things. So I've got 2 different ones. So if you choose to send photos to both, make sure you send them separately and title them accordingly. So garden collaboration and food preservation collaboration. Those are 2 different ones because I have 2 different folders that I'll drop your pictures into. Now it's going to be a few months out before I even get to start working on that. So you have plenty of time to take your photos. You know, like one lady has already sent me some garden photos because she's much farther along than we are. And then like people in the northeast part of the United States or even farther behind us. So that's why I'm giving you plenty of time on the garden as well as plenty of time for the food preservation photos. So I typically only put in 3 photos per person, but it doesn't have to be 3. It can be 1, it could be 2, whatever your favorite photos are that you take. But just make sure they're nice and clean and clear. Sometimes people send me blurry pictures, or they send me photos that have a lot of, like if they have something sitting on the counter and they might have a lot of clutter in the background and it's really distracting from the subject of the photo. So you want to make sure they're nice and clean and clear. It's okay to have nice things sitting out that might enhance the photo, but you don't want it to distract. You can send me more than 3. And the nice thing about that is I can select which ones I think will look best in the video. And the other thing is that you make sure that you include what name you would like me to ascribe to your photo. So it can be just your first name, last initial. It can be your full name. It can be a channel name, or it can be totally anonymous if you prefer. And I'm totally cool. Just make sure that I know what that is. Otherwise, I will use whatever name is on the email. And if you don't want your whole name out there, you need to make sure you let me know that. And then the other thing is, I need more preparedness testimonies. I only have 1, and I'd like to do another preparedness testimonies video real soon. So if you have any preparedness testimonies you'd like to share, again, raincountryhomestead@gmail.com is where you're emailing all this stuff to. And that also needs to be in a separate email entitled preparedness testimonies. And it's just you sharing about either how you got to a more prepared, self-sufficient place in your life on a budget, or how being more prepared or self-sufficient helped get you through some various difficult times. These are the kind of testimonies we like to hear because it encourages those people who are in limited funds and need to know that they can do it on limited funds. And also for those people who are still on the fences, is it worth it, to have testimonies on just the real life day-to-day things that happen, on how doing so really helped get somebody through a difficult time. That can be very encouraging to them as well. So again, make sure each of these emails, if you're sending something to all of them, are titled appropriately and are separate from each other so I can drop them in the correct folder until I'm ready to start working on those. Okay, well, that's my this and that for the week. Any thoughts, ideas you'd like to share, please put those comments down below. Remember, those comments do help get us boosted in the algorithms, hopefully, again, someday, so that at least the people that are subscribed to my channel can actually see my content. That would be nice. And thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless.